Welcome back everyone to my Game of the Year Awards of 2016 countdown. If you haven't seen the first part yet, be sure to watch it because obviously you want to watch these in order so they make sense. You can find a link to that video directly in the description of this one. But without further ado, let's get right back into the best games of last year. Honorable mention, Mafia 3. This game did a lot of things right. It actually did significant improvements to the gameplay elements and the graphics of Mafia 2. In addition, the cast this time around features a wide variety of cultural characters from the criminal element of New Bordeaux. Basically, people who wanted the mafioso out of there, and so they united for a common purpose to become the people who were kind of in charge of all of that and to make New Bordeaux a better place. Although, of course, you always have to wonder, once they're in power, will they be any better than the existing Mafia element who's in charge right now? But the characters and the story of Mafia 3 were great. It ended up being a really fun experience for the fun missions that were different. And what I mean by that is that unlike its predecessor, Mafia 3 decided to wedge in a ridiculous amount of required, grinding, repetitive gameplay that made the game insanely long for what it was. If this game didn't have required repetitive grinding gameplay to advance to each next story part of the game, it probably would have been an awesome 8 to 10 hour experience. But because they wedge in an additional 10 to 15 hours of boring repetitive crap, this game sadly did not make my top 10 games of the year. It's still a great game, it's still a good bang for your buck, and if you're looking for one of the best stories of the year, you'll probably get it with Mafia 3. The problem is you'll have to slosh through so much boring repetitive crap, you may wonder whether or not it was worth it. So it's still worth an honorable mention, but sadly because of a bad gameplay design choice, it does not make my top 10 faves. Honorable mention, The King of Fighters 14. That's right, in a year when everyone thought that fighting games would be dominated by Street Fighter V, it turns out that a lot of the other guys ended up completely outdoing them. King of Fighters 14 was one of those situations. Although the graphics are not much at all to look at, the gameplay mechanics of King of Fighters 14 far exceeded those of Street Fighter V. The game had far more content at launch than Street Fighter V had. The online play was overall a better experience, a much wider cast of characters. It just has everything going for it. If you can put up with the fact that the game is pretty ugly and you just care about a solid, competitive fighting game experience, the King of Fighters 14 is definitely your cup of tea, and you're going to get endless amount of hours of gameplay through the various online gaming modes, the offline modes, far more than you're gonna get out of its #1 competitor, Street Fighter V. If anything, the reason this game really didn't make my top 10 games of the year was because sadly, in my experience, the online play still left something to be desired, but it seems that most other people who played this game had an outstanding time with the online play. I really didn't, but hey, maybe it's just because of the region that I live in or the internet out here, I don't know what it was. Overall, I still really enjoyed this game, and it definitely deserved an honorable mention. But now back to our official nominations for Games of the Year with my number 8 pick, Pokken Tournament. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Pokken Tournament, a game that combined Pokemon with the kind of 2D/3D hybrid gameplay of the Tekken franchise. I didn't know what to expect when I played this game at first. I mean, let's face it, Pokemon in a fighting environment could have gone any which way, but because it was put in the hands of competent game developers, what came out of here ended up being far exceptional and way above my expectations. A decent cast featuring a wide variety of gameplay and fighting styles, both 2D and 3D kind of fighting gameplay integration depending on what stage of combat you're actually in, a narrative story mode that actually was long and had a lot of content with unlockable characters and a reason to actually play it, plus an in-depth, robust training mode, other kinds of modes to keep you occupied, and then, hands down, the best fighting game online play of 2016. The connections, for the most part, were absolutely exceptional for me whenever I played Pokken Tournament online. This game absolutely had it all. In fact, the only thing that I would say was a shortcoming of this game, The graphics weren't the best because they were on the Wii U and they were scaled down significantly. I think so that if you wanted to play it on the Wii U gamepad, you know, that giant monstrosity of a screen, that it wasn't that much of a graphical discrepancy than playing it on your TV. So overall, the graphics don't end up being blow you away outstanding, but outside of that, the gameplay, the amount of content in this game, for a full retail release, it definitely delivered, and it had a great online competitive experience. You really can't ask for anything more in a modern fighting game, and again, I have to admit, this game far outshined what Street Fighter V did in 2016, and that's why this game gets an official spot on my top 10 games of the year, while Street Fighter V gets left in the dust. Number 7, Overwatch. Now let's face it, every single game that Blizzard makes pretty much just prints money. And I don't know if we all expected that from Overwatch, being that it was the very first foray for Blizzard Entertainment into the realm of first-person shooter games. But boy, they did their homework, they knew exactly what they were doing, and a lot of people even go as far to call Overwatch as the spiritual successor to Team Fortress 2. Now, those are some pretty big shoes to fill, but I really think that Overwatch has done that with a cast of characters that all have their own personalities as well as unique gameplay styles. You can play this game in a melee fashion, you could play it as more of a defensive fashion, you could do it as run and gun, you could do it as strategic, high flying. There are characters in Overwatch that actually lend themselves to styles of gameplay from certain first-person shooter games of old. And that's awesome that these game developers kind of did an homage to classic first-person shooter franchises, with what they did with this game. But also a wide variety of maps, cool graphics, competitive style gameplay of multiple different kinds, all adds to the overall enjoyment of Overwatch. In addition, this is one of the easiest first-person shooters to just jump into, and within an hour or two of playing, you'll find one or two characters that are your forte, no matter what kind of a player you are, and that really speaks to the kind of adaptability that this game has. If anything, if this doesn't say something, I don't know what will. Of all the games that I played in 2016, Overwatch was the game that I found myself going back to again and again and again, more so than I think any other online game and any other competitive game. I just really enjoyed it so much that every time there was an update, and by the way, it should be noted, free updates, you never have to pay for them, new maps, new characters, holiday kind of themed special events are all being added frequently and constantly by Blizzard with no sign of stopping in the future. So not only is this a robust experience, hundreds of hours of fun online gameplay, no matter what your gameplay style, but you're also going to get tons of free content moving forward. I mean, where can you go wrong? Overwatch, an outstanding game, one of the best of 2016 by far. Alright folks, that's it for this part of my Game of the Year Awards countdown. I sure hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider giving this video a like right here on YouTube, and also subscribing to the KO Gaming channel, so you'll catch the rest of this countdown, as well as all my game reviews and highly edited videos coming in the future. Be sure to check out the description of this video for some great stuff, including links to my Patreon, as well as a Loot Crate discount code. But overall, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time, right here on KO Gaming.